Imagine having a great paying job with a huge and powerful corporation, but you soon find out that they are secretly spying on millions of unsuspecting Americans. You should feel like that you should be able to tell the truth to protect others. However, this is America, home of the free and land of the brave, but you are actually forced to make a run for it and leave the country just to stay out of jail and save your life. This isn't just any corporation. This is actually the United States of America, and this story belongs to Edward Snowden. Some consider him a hero and some consider him a traitor. But no matter what, this forced a public debate on the topic of privacy. Freedom has set America apart from other nations because of privacy rights. People came here to start a new life because the country offered privacy that they could not have been found elsewhere. Americans have taken great pride in their rights and freedoms. And as we look back in history, one example that stands out is in 1945 when the U.S. Secretary of State, George Marshall, attempted to work out the peace treaty after World War II with the Russians. He gave the legendary speech on the meaning of democracy and a free society, and he clearly contrasted the characteristics between a free and totalitarian government for other nations to hear. An excerpt from his speech states, "A free society must assure such rights to every individual and effectively prevent any government or group, however powerful or however numerous, from taking such rights away, from imposing any such fears on any individual, however weak or however few." But just 7 decades later, the simplicity of what George Marshall envisioned for a free society is not so simple anymore. Surprisingly, the right to privacy is not actually mentioned in the Constitution, but in the amendments within the Bill of Rights. Over the years, the concept of individual privacy rights has changed due to the government officials. And one big legislative highlight in the U.S. was the Privacy Act of 1947. This prevents the unauthorized disclosure of personal information held by the government. And then in 1978, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act legalized wiretapping with the objective to collect intelligence from agencies of foreign powers and terrorist groups. But keep in mind, ever since there were telegraphs and telephones, people were concerned about the government keeping too close of a watch on their private lives. But with the expansion of the internet, more apprehension of just who was listening and intercepting information made many worry much more. The next publicly well-known change happened under George W. Bush, with the passing of the Patriot Act after 9/11. This act actually allowed the FBI to obtain telecommunication, financial, and credit records without court order. And this has changed America's views and treatment of privacy rights forever. And from that point forward, the government has a massive collection of data and has drastically expanded into metadata. And today, because of the collection of metadata, one can find more than enough of information just by doing a simple Google search. Sadly, personal information isn't just as confidential as some may think. After the terrorist attack on our nation, people seemed willing to do nearly anything to stop the threat. Bob Sullivan expresses that privacy does matter, but total privacy is dangerous. Privacy is like health. When you have it, you don't notice it, but only when it's gone, you wish you had done more to protect it. Our health, privacy health, has been taken away through technology. For over 2 centuries, Americans have valued their privacy. However, modern progress in information technology systems has impacted everyone's personal privacy in ways we can only begin to understand. Cell phone providers such as Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint are all collecting incoming and outgoing text messages, calls, how often you check your email, or even access the internet. And sometimes they can even track your location if you have that turned on as well. Without a second thought, people sign away their privacy to get a shiny new data collector. And unfortunately, service providers don't even stop there. They can give your information to third parties such as advertisers. But on the bright side, you have a choice to opt out if you choose, but won't even bring it up until you mention your right to privacy. If one was concerned about privacy, the easy way out would be to walk away from all this technology to become safe. Yet it would nearly be impossible to function on a day-to-day life without it. Alexander Nazaryan gives step-by-step directions on how to keep your privacy safe from advertisers. His advice is to take a hammer down and bring it hard on your smartphone. Then do the same to your tablet, laptop, and desktop. Now exhale. You're safe. However, many believe that they are safe from hackers and government surveillance because they keep a password on their devices. Sadly, even with all the good password hygiene, 62% of smartphone users do not even have a password to protect their phone. Interestingly enough, if cyber criminals or even phone companies wanted to, they have a very easy to get past the one little password barrier if they wanted to. Unfortunately, this brilliant technology has such a drastic drawback. And because of today's technology, our privacy rights are unknowingly being lost. In fact, nowadays we have little actual control on who has access to information about us. The development of new technology has fundamentally changed the way information is gathered, and currently it is expected that corporations and government agencies will have access to detailed information about people's lives. And with just a click of the mouse or the swipe of a finger, you can actually track down a map of where a person lives and what they do, who their friends are, and a whole much more. We are actually being filmed without our knowledge, and our conversations are being recorded, and our purchases are being tracked, and sadly, our lives are pretty much just an open book to anyone. But when and how did this shift actually happen? It's not just one morning we woke up and all of a sudden everything was gone. Instead, it was a gradual process to have a step-by-step to take place in increments, so then we often don't notice it. And Lisa Graves contends that once government officials normalize access to American communications, we cannot actually control what our future leaders may do with the newly accessible pool of information. If we don't stand up for our rights, it may not be long until our country actually turns into a totalitarian society. Whereas before the existence of technology, the easiest way to get our privacy rights invaded was to get arrested for illegal activity. Yet, these days, people are hungry for other people's personal information because it is at their fingertips. Colin Wood believes that everyone are able to have their privacy rights invaded, but no one is actually taking action. The nation depends on privacy, and it is considered to be the backbone of Western societies. However, since this is the first time in history that technology has been around, the policymakers do not know how to handle this technology change. Our country started out with the idea of the untouchable freedom that has never been done before. But now America has lost sight of this notion. Our privacy rights to liberty has in part been taken away under the masquerade of defending our country's security and saving us from terrorists. But as technology progressed, little by little, our privacy has slipped away. In the process, the government teamed up with big businesses, advertisers, and cell phone companies to collect information that citizens never intended to share. But the ringleaders are pushing and pushing to the max until the people stop them in their tracks and say enough is enough. Team up and act now to salvage your freedoms, and do not wait until it is you that has to flee the country to be safe.